Eric Farnsworth is Vice President of the Council of the Americas, and he's joining us here in the studio to discuss this distinguished honor. There had been rumblings and rumors of late that this might happen, so I guess it isn't a shocking surprise. I want to get your take on it, though.
I don't think it's a huge surprise. I mean, the timing's a little bit awkward, given the fact that the people of Colombia just voted it down in the plebiscite. But in terms of the recognition of the president and his administration for peace in Colombia and the Colombian people, I think it's deserved, and I think that that's what the Nobel Committee is focusing on.
We'll talk a little bit more, because you already brought it up, the irony that you get the Peace Prize, but you can't get the peace vote. I mean, that was kind of a sting, and up to prior to the election, he had a pretty strong feeling it was going to pass.
We all did, based on polls, based on comments that were coming both from the government as well as the FARC itself. You know, maybe people didn't ask the Colombian people their views necessarily, and so they had the chance to express that in the voting itself. And when they had that chance, they did express those views, and it didn't pass. But, you know, what we're hoping is this recognition of the president, the Nobel Prize, is going to add some momentum to return to the peace negotiation table, to find the way forward if it has to be changed in some manner, but to find a way forward on a consensus basis with the opponents of the peace agreement, and then to achieve that in what could be an even more lasting peace for Colombia. So if there's a silver lining in the people voting down the plebiscite, it's that by bringing it to the table and bringing the opponents of the agreement into the negotiation itself, it could in fact be more lasting over time.
And you and I have talked about this because it's gone on for years and years and years. You've been here, we've gone through point by point by point. So it was a tough slog to get to this point. And you know it has to be contentious. One side saying we want this and that, as any negotiation is. So how tough is it for the opposition to sit there at the table, FARC, and say, hey, look, we gave you this, we gave you that, now you say you want more? It's not going to be an easy sell, is it?
It's not a slam dunk, and you know, the negotiations have been going on for over 4 years, so it's not like they can then go back to the FARC and say, okay, well, we were really joking, we really need you to give up this or give us that new concession, or, you know, this ground has been trod very heavily for a long time. Now, in order to get an agreement, it's possible that one or both parties might make some changes and might renegotiate, look at some of the issues in a new way. But you're right. I mean, where that obvious area for change is, I don't think anybody's found it yet. So we're going to have to look at that.
So give me your prediction as we move forward on this. I mean, given the fact that it took 4 years to get to the point where we are, where the voters rejected it, and I think it's a distinction I think you made. The voters weren't really voting against peace. They want peace. They just weren't happy with this deal.
I think that's exactly right. And, you know, the only prediction I would make is that if the parties lose momentum, it'll be more difficult over time to actually come to an actual peace agreement that lasts. It's almost like riding a bicycle. If you stop pedaling, you fall over. But what has been encouraging to me as an outside observer is that immediately after the vote was taken, both the president came on television to accept that, but also then to say, we're going to try to find a path forward, and the FARC has also said we need to find a path forward. So they're looking for ways to come back to the table to try to come to that new agreement. So they're trying not to lose that momentum. The president has also, however, given a deadline of October 31st, and he said if we don't have an agreement by that time, the ceasefire that's currently in place is going to be lifted. So there is a bit of a time frame there, and that gives urgency, I think, to all the parties.
All right, Eric, always a pleasure having you in. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.